Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, tracking the Toronto Raptors 126-98 win against the New York Knicks. Riker, Toronto Raptors set a record for most consecutive division wins on their home court, an NBA record. I believe it was at 23 straight. That's kind of a fascinating stat thing to look at the Toronto Raptors, but we played against the New York Knicks. They're currently the bottom of the league, even though they do have some talent on their roster. I don't think they're completely abysmal, but the Raptors handily won this one.
In RJ Barrett's return to Canada, return to home, an absolute beatdown tonight. And Ben, I predicted in our call last night after we finished our podcast, I predicted that the Raptors were going to win by 55 points tonight, or Marcus Morris was going to score 80 and win. I was a little bit in between here. 30 points, still an incredible blowout, and you're talking about history or talking about records. They tied, their record for most threes in a game, I believe, this game tonight too. So, impressive all-around victory for the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, certainly. And, RJ Barrett's return, he was solid tonight. He ended up buying, I think it was 300 friends and families tickets, or he didn't mention who bought it, but there's 300 people in attendance to see RJ Barrett play, people he knew. He had 16 points. 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Not the most efficient shooting, 5 of 17 from the field.
Let me jump in for a sec here, Ben. Let me jump in for a sec. Yeah. Did he play solid, though? This is my big issue with RJ Barrett, and I'm going to pitch it back to you before I chime in. Did he really play solid?
He was... I'm not going to say... all things considered, I think he was fine. Definitely not the most efficient shooting. Could have hit a few more open shots, but... I think you're gonna bag on him a little bit, but I think he shows some things as a rookie. He's in a horrible situation there in New York right now, whether it be the offense. The Knicks they're out there, even though they have some talented players. I want to say, actual NBA players. They're not like the Knicks of 2 years ago that basically only had 1 or 2 NBA players. They have a lot of NBA guys on this team, but it looks like they have no direction. It looks like people are out there not knowing what they're gonna do. They just crossover, shoot a contested three. It's not a healthy environment for development, and we've seen that with Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson, who are very talented guys, but I don't think they're playing up to their potential right now, and hopefully RJ can overcome that bad situation in New York. But yeah, it wasn't a great game by any means, but I think he's doing well with what he currently has.
I haven't actually watched an RJ Barrett game on the New York Knicks until tonight, and the thing that disappointed me here tonight was, he's coming in averaging about 50 points per game. 15, not 50. 50. That'd be crazy. That would be absolutely absurd. And he had only 4 turnovers, right? And we see games like they're forcing Kawhi Leonard to get turnovers. They're holding Embiid to 0 points in a game. Raptors defense is good, so you can't really criticize there. But my big issue, it's not just the inconsistency, but my issue is I've watched RJ Barrett growing up, so throughout college and playing on Team Canada, and if there's one thing that everyone knows about RJ is that he was bred to play basketball. His father's involvement in Team Canada, his strategic placements on each team that he played with, he's always been the number one guy.
His godfather, Steve Nash.
Steve Nash, for crying out loud. Yep. Exactly. He's always been strategically placed. He's been the leader on every team, right? Whether he deserves it or not, he's been the leader. He's been the number one guy, the alpha. My issue now watching the New York Knicks is they're last place team in the East, and he still doesn't seem like the number one guy in this team. He's playing the most minutes out there tonight, and I didn't feel like the offense ever flowed through him. I felt like he put up some shots when he got the ball, but I just didn't get any sense that he was the number one guy out there, that he's making his teammates better. Maybe I'm being a little bit too criticizing here, but I did say that RJ Barrett was going to be the sure shot Rookie of the Year this season, and he's not. I don't even know if he's top 3 in contention. So I'm just a little bit disappointed.
He started off the season really well, and you mentioned it. We have really high expectations for RJ Barrett. He's around our age group. He played in my years growing up. I ended up almost played against him at Nationals in Canada. We're really rooting for this guy, and yes, he hasn't been perfect, but I think he's been solid. I think he's not over-exceeded expectations or underperformed. I think this is, considering the Knicks, considering all that, I think he's pretty at a solid trajectory right now. But we got to talk about the Toronto Raptors, Riker. Pascal Siakam tonight, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 5 of 8 from the three-point line, 12 of 22 from the field. This was easy money for Pascal tonight.
What was his three-point percentage last season, Ben? It was below 30%, wasn't it? It was.
I believe it ended up going. It was really bad to start the year last year, but it ended up after the All-Star break. I remember corner threes and all that. It really improved it. So I don't know the specific number on hand, but yes, this time last year it was very low.
The change from last year to now hitting 5 for 8 threes in a game, like even attempting 8 threes. Like if I had to pitch that to you last season, say, hey, would you want Pascal Siakam
off the
attempting
dribble,
8 threes?
you know,
crazy. Like, what an improvement.
Crazy.
He could go up for most improved player for a second year in a row, honestly.
Yeah, no, he's been out here just playing out of his mind all season long. We've brought it up. He's slowly turning into that superstar player we're looking for to have playoff success. And you mentioned it. If he continues to hit these dribble pull-up threes, these shots above the break, because last year, even though his percentages got better, most of his shots were just set in the corner, no one really guarding him, and that's the only threes we're looking for him. But now, as the focal point, he's taking them contested, all these sorts of stuff. The Knicks could not deal with Pascal Siakam tonight, and they couldn't really deal with anyone right now. There's about 6-7 players that scored over 10 points. You know, OG Anunoby, he came out and played ridiculous defense, 13 points, 12 rebounds in this game. He was a plus 29 for this game. You know, OG's defense, specifically on RJ or whoever he was guarding, he played remarkable as well.
It seemed like every time that RJ Barrett got the ball tonight, the defense was swarming him. I don't know if that was the game plan, if they kind of assumed that he'd be the guy that they need to shut down, or if, you know, they wanted to make sure that he didn't have an easy time in his first showing in Canada. Either way, I love the intensity because these are the games that are usually a wash for the Toronto Raptors. You know, they come out sluggish. They play at the tempo of the team that they're playing against, whether it's, you know, Atlanta Hawks or New York Knicks or any of these bottom-tier teams. I find that
they start off slow and then they kill them in the third.
Exactly, and this was, except for the second half of the first quarter, they put their foot on the gas, and they maintained it the entire game. And it's hard to stay engaged defensively when you're winning by a large amount. So I was really impressed that they were able to keep the intensity up for the entire game.
Yeah, certainly. And everyone played well. It's tough to bring up because we had about 11, 12 guys play, and even off the deep bench, people played well. Malcolm Miller had 13 points. He was absolutely inferno in the second half. Shamir Pons came in the game, or as Matt Devlin calls it, Pounds. He came in, made a few nice drives. I believe it was his rookie debut, so shout out to him for getting his first career points. Looks like he has a lot of potential on offense. The defense got blown by a couple times, fouled a three-point shooter, but I think he could be a guy that could be a little bit of not a huge steal, but another guy that might be someone to look at in a couple seasons. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson off the bench. We just made a video on him. 12 points, 4 rebounds. Boucher, he was on fire tonight. He had 13 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, super aggressive. Just everyone, even Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, you could tell, was just chilling, letting everyone stay within the flow of the offense. He had 15 points, 4 assists, and Marc Gasol. Actually, I'll talk about Gasol later because the big moment from this game is going to be in the segments. But who stood out to you, Ryker? Because everyone was just cooking.
Well, as we were talking about before the podcast, my roommate had a scary allergy attack, so I was only able to watch the first half. And like I said, it was very well-rounded tonight in terms of the effort that I saw. You know, Terrence Davis. The one thing that I'll say, Terrence Davis, he came out just ready to huck anything. In the first quarter, or in the first half, I believe he had, you know, probably 7 or 8 attempts. And that's not bad. I mean, he's been playing really well. It's just, you don't want to see somebody come in and force it too much. But other than that, I just think that it was just an all-around game tonight. One of those nights.
Yeah, honestly, and Terrence Davis, he's the one thing that I've been commending him so well is how he plays within the flow of the game. He does what the team needs, and tonight, when everyone's cooking, Ryker, you just gotta let it fly. You know, you just gotta, if you got the skills like TD has, I have no problem with him. He had 13 shots tonight. He's got to keep shooting, and man, everyone's just out here cooking. But, you know, we don't want to ramble on too much. We're going to swing it straight into the segments. Tonight, for me, Ryker, the spicy Pele of the day, it's going to Big Spain himself. He only had 3 points tonight, but the 3 that he had, you know, he was looking like Steph Curry. He got the ball, it was about 3 or 4 feet beyond the three-point line, and no hesitation, just let it fly. He was looking like Steph Curry, looking like some Fred VanVleet in the playoffs last season with that range, and just splashed it down. Gasol, you could tell Gasol was relaxed in this game. He wasn't trying to force too much, but to hit that three was it was unfortunate for the Knicks. It kind of summed up this game for the Toronto Raptors.
I never saw it, but that's a dagger, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. But not all plays can be the spicy Pele of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, do you have an OG's play in mind, Riker?
Nothing stands out in particular.
I
towards
think
towards the end of the game.
Yep.
A little bit of chippiness between Mitchell Robinson and Terrence Davis. Did you see that?
And that's going to feed into my DeMar Carroll gold star. So I'll throw out an OGs out there. Malcolm Miller just banging all those threes. He had 4 for 5 in the late stretch. So shout out to Malcolm Miller. Made me say OGs. Looking at him just kick the Knicks while they're down. That makes you say OGs. Watch the screen. And finally, the one and only DeMar Carroll gold star award. And tonight it's going to, you brought it up, Mitchell Robinson, because this game was over. This game was completely in the bag. I think it was 126 to 98, so a 28-point deficit. And firstly, Mitchell Robinson takes an elbow and just elbows Chris Boucher underneath the rim going for a rebound. Boucher just looks, he's looking at the crowd. He's like, what? He gives that kind of confused look. And then TD's taking the ball up the court, looking to dribble it out because there's no shot clock left, a 28-point deficit. And then Mitchell Robinson just runs at him and fouls like it's a 2-point game or something. What are you doing? What are you doing out there? He apologized to Boucher after the game, but what was Mitchell Robinson thinking on that, Riker?
I don't know. It's embarrassing to get blown out by this much in the NBA. So maybe tensions, emotions were high, but there's no place for it. There's a place for it in the mid, halfway through a game. Score is close, right? The chippiness it's uncalled for. It's unnecessary. I totally agree with you, Ben.
Yeah, certainly. It was real confusing. But before we end it off, Riker, today there was a bunch of announcements that Team Canada, they have their final last chance qualification tournament for the Olympics, and Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, RJ Barrett, they all announced that they're going to play. So it's really encouraging for Canada basketball. Those guys are going to be out there on the court to give us our one last chance at the Olympics. And tonight, to bring up Canada basketball, we had head coach Nick Nurse of Canada basketball in this game tonight. And he saw RJ Barrett, Ignaz Brazdeikis, Chris Boucher, and O'Shea Brissett all on the court at once. That's 4 Canadians on the same basketball court, Riker. Well, that's super cool. That's super cool. In Canada, in the city that just won the NBA championship, Canada basketball has really come a long way.
Who are you saying starting lineup for Team Canada, assuming that the guys that have said that they're going to commit do commit?
Ooh, I don't know the full list of people that commit, but if we're going to throw one out there, I'd say Jamal Murray, Shai, RJ, Tristan Thompson usually plays, so I'm going to assume that he's playing. And then maybe, honestly, the way Boucher's playing, he might end up sneaking in there over Olenek. I'd say Olenik's there right now.
We never even talked about this. You and I never talked about it. That is the exact starting lineup that I would have said. Some people are saying that, Olenek, maybe even Dwight Powell. And
Dwight Howell's been really good for the Mavs this year.
Kem Birch, I know he'll play for Canada. Who are other bigs? I thought we had one more big name guy. Can't remember.
Tristan Thompson.
Dylan Brooks is not too bad coming off the bench. Corey Joseph coming off the bench. People are speculating Andrew Wiggins will play. I highly doubt it. He has a terrible relationship with Canada basketball. Just stems back from a few years back.
Jay Triano's no longer the coach, though. The one saving grace to that may be that Jay Triano's no longer the coach. Obviously, Jay benched him in Wiggins' first tournament against Venezuela and benched him for Dornkamp when Wiggins was that. It made no sense as a coaching decision. We haven't seen Wiggins play on Team Canada since, so hopefully now he'd be willing to suit up for the team. But yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath with Wiggins, but
it's still a nasty team. Without him, it's still a nasty team.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of great Canadians in the league, and hopefully they can win this qualification tournament. And hopefully all the Canadians continue to ball out in the league. But anyways, that's enough from us. The Toronto Raptors completely squashed the Knicks tonight. You're the best for making us far in this podcast. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Riker, you have any last words?
Bonjour. Or what's the goodbye?
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Cheers.